So our company, BitSpace, is about building the future on blockchain economy, on blockchain solutions, on cryptocurrency. And for us, Bitcoin is very important. It's the first one. It's the first cryptocurrency. They proved that it was possible. But it's also only one out of thousands. So it's a little bit interesting situation that you have one blockchain which contains 80% of the value of the total cryptocurrencies in the world. But still, Bitcoin being so big, the other currencies can also be very significant. And we have already started seeing examples of other currencies that actually have a very strong value proposition, and which may be used for a variety of different use cases that we haven't even begun to imagine. It's like the internet in the 80s. You started having started building this big network of computers worldwide, and people didn't really know what to use it for. It was, should we make email? Okay, we copy what we have in reality, which is mail, and we do it electronically, and we call it email. Well, that's what they were able to imagine at that time. Nobody would imagine that we now have Facebook and YouTube. YouTube, which is basically taking over for TV, for media. And that's the situation in the crypto economy. That's what we strongly believe, that fire has been invented, or electricity has been invented, but we don't know yet what we are going to build with this fantastic breakthrough in technology. That it actually is. What has been invented is a way for a big network to reach consensus, and digital scarcity is achieved in the process. So those two pieces make possible a lot of different use cases. So we have two main projects that we're focused on at this time, and I'm going to present one of those projects, and my brother Christian, who is my co-founder of BitSpace, is going to present the other one. This project is called BitGate. It's something that we presented in Oslo FinTech Week for panels of lawyers and financial people and banks, and they were very interested in the idea. And we have worked on the idea for about a year before we presented it. But now the time is right, and we are going full steam ahead with this project. We got very good reception. We won the FinTech Challenge, and we are going to the accelerator in FinTech Factory Accelerator in the autumn. So we're really excited about this. So what we want to do is bridge the gap. That's our slogan for BitGate, bridging the gap. So what we have is a crypto economy on one side, and a traditional economy on the other side, and they are fundamentally different, qualitatively different. Of course, the traditional economy is much, much bigger than the crypto economy. It's just a newborn baby. But there are some very interesting differences. So just a little bit about the crypto economy. We all heard a lot about Bitcoin until now. Just to show a little bit the scope, these are old numbers, a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks back. The total value of all the cryptocurrencies is $11.2 billion. Out of those, 9 billion is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is the mastodon here. But it would be hard-pressed to say that it's all about Bitcoin. I mean, there are still $2 billion here in other projects. And of course, Ethereum, which has now fallen a bit. We'll get back to that in the panel. Ethereum is, of course, number 2, and it has a lot of interest around it. It's basically a worldwide open consensus-powered computer, which anybody can write code to, and you can use Ethereum's own intrinsic currency token as fuel for this computer. So it's a very, very interesting proposition, but it's vastly more complex than Bitcoin. So we believe that it's going to take a lot of time for Ethereum to become really solid and have practical usage. But just the prototyping and the experimentation is generating so much interest. So it has quickly risen to be the number 2 cryptocurrency. It's very rare in the history of the long 8-year history of Bitcoin for an altcoin, so the so-called altcoin, to reach that kind of level compared to Bitcoin. And here you have at the bottom of the top 100, you have Unobtainium, for example, which is an interesting name, plays on the digital scarcity. So that's, you all know where this value comes from, right? Just gotta have it. It's unobtainable. And yeah, so but the bottom here is still $400,000 of the top 100. So you have a power distribution here where Bitcoin is the main player, and then quickly falls, but then it flattens out, and the tail is very long, and you have like 1,000 cryptocurrencies at this stage. On this list, I think you have this is CoinMarketCap. Here you get I think it's around 600-700 coins. Only the ones that have active markets are displayed here. So if you want to check it out, go to coinmarketcap.com. It's very interesting to just look around there, play around with the... Yes, please. Do we have someone who can carry the microphone now? Where's the other mic?
Yes.
Okay, could you please...
Sorry. I can speak loud. No, just repeat this question instead.
He's ready. Yes, question, please.
Just a question of what are the commonalities of the cryptocurrencies here? Is it the blockchain and the hashing algorithm? And is that why you call it the crypto? Is that because it's the hashing, or is it because transactions are encrypted?
Yes, very good question. Thank you.
Because it looks like the blockchain is carrying all the... You can actually see the whole thing as we talked about before, right? So,
yeah.
In the long run it will be correct.
So this is how I define the crypto economy, which is a term I use for this big value that we saw now. So the crypto economy is what I call all these cryptocurrencies that we saw. There are some fundamental differences. There are some fundamental properties of cryptocurrencies that may be one way to explain, to answer your question. I can also answer it in a more technical way, but let's start with this. So the network and code is open. It's open source. And that's one reason why Bitcoin is so robust, because it has been constantly under attack with the open source code. Every flaw that there is to find in Bitcoin has been discovered, or you still don't know if everything is discovered, but you have a lot of financial incentive to break Bitcoin. All right, so one of the first things that happened, if it was 2011 or I don't remember exactly, I wasn't in Bitcoin that early, but there was a major flaw that allowed miners to produce unlimited amounts of Bitcoin. So that's when they rooted out that kind of flaws. It was very early, and they could still roll back the blockchain in an early phase. Maybe someone else here can comment better on that story. But that's one of the strengths. So it's security by design. It's not security by obscurity, which is so common in the traditional proprietary software, banking networks. They are based on that. So they can't open their networks to the internet because it would just crack down immediately. So Bitcoin is extremely robust. But that's just one feature that's kjennetegner. Characterizes the cryptocurrencies. You have a low barrier to entry. It's basically the matter of downloading an app on your phone. Somebody sends you a couple of bitcoins, and you're there. You can start using it. Someone said, I think it was Andreas Antonopoulos, who is one of the main figures, stars in the Bitcoin scene. He said that downloading a Bitcoin wallet is more similar to downloading a bank into your phone than downloading an app that talks to your bank. So you don't actually need banks. If you have a smartphone, $10 smartphone in an African country without line power in every household, even just have an antenna in the village where you can get internet, they can actually start using Bitcoin. That's so powerful, and I think most people don't think about it. In Norway, we are here. We have our plastic. It's so easy. We can just use it everywhere. We can send each other money. We don't really see that big use case for Bitcoin yet. But half of the world has really bad banking services. And a lot of people in the world don't have bank access at all. They don't even have identity. So that's where the know your customer and anti-money laundering regulation becomes really interesting to look at. When you don't even have the identity needed for that kind of features. So the identification is optional. You can also have a blockchain which supports identification, which is something that we will work with. I'll get into that more. Transparency is normal. You can also have anonymous and encrypted transactions, and there are a lot of technologies available, but normally the norm is that you have transparency, and it has to be specifically built to be closed. It has to be a specific feature to hide things in the blockchain. The regulation of the open crypto economy, it's pure incentive. Algorithms, mathematics, and incentives, human incentive. As opposed to the traditional economy where you need the law and you need law enforcement to control what is going on inside the blockchain, to protect the customers. In Bitcoin, these things are built into the code, and you don't actually need human intervention to uphold the security. The control is decentralized, whereas in the traditional economy you have a hierarchy where somebody has a kill switch. That's not possible in Bitcoin. Not one single person can control which transactions go through. Not one entity can say that these funds are illegal and take them away from a user. This is not possible in the crypto economy. And that's a good thing, we believe. So that's the system today is you have the decentralized crypto economy on one side. You have the centralized system with a strong regulatory environment. So there you have the consumer protection through the law in the centralized system, the traditional economy. Here you have the customer protection taken care of by the network, by the code. In between here, there's a problem. You have centralized exchanges which are regulated weekly. So there is a problem here. How do you go safely from Bitcoin to the centralized system? Because the banks don't touch Bitcoin, basically. They talk a lot about blockchain. They want to make their own private blockchains where everything is the same as before. They just want to cut some costs. But it doesn't really take into account what is going on. It doesn't doesn't admit what is going on in the world, where the free, robust systems are becoming so strong that you can't ignore them. So there has to be some way to connect these two systems. Just a little bit on the centralized exchange, which is the typical way of exchanging bitcoins today. Somebody heard of MTGOX here? That was a big cryptocurrency exchange a couple of years ago that crashed. 700,000 bitcoins were lost. It was about $500 per bitcoin, so you can make the math. And there was no way they could return those coins to the users. The bitcoins are lost. On the traditional currency side, there is a possibility to get some money back. But the bitcoins, the problem is when you put Bitcoin inside an exchange, it becomes a trusted currency. You have to trust the exchange with your Bitcoins on one side, and you trust the exchange with your dollars on the other side. So the whole system is a black box. You also have to trust the markets. In this exchange, the guy on the top can basically do what they want. With the markets, you just have to trust the whole thing. And MTGOX was the first big disaster in Bitcoin. There have been other smaller disasters. Exchanges that basically just ran away with people's money. So people are learning the hard way in cryptocurrencies. Just show you a little bit about the situation today with Ethereum. These are the Ethereum markets. Most of the Ethereum trade goes through Bitcoin. And at the time we took this snapshot, it was a couple of weeks ago, 50% of the volume traded in Ethereum. 50% of all the trading volume was done through one single centralized exchange in Poland, Poloniex, which is a great exchange. It's terrific, it's fast, it's until the day that one unfaithful employee decides to hack the system and run off with all the coins. Then you will have a huge disaster in Ethereum. So that's a big liability. That's something that we need to solve. So what we propose is a hybrid solution where you can have a fundamental groundwork of cryptocurrency. Decentralized, robust, open source code, everything as the fundament of the network. But at the same time, you can support regulation at the edges, and you can also support trusted actors within the same system. So you kind of mix the two, and we believe that this is the most honest way to approach the problem, because you have the crypto economy, you can't ignore it. The banks can't say that, no, we don't want Bitcoin. That's not possible. It's not going to happen. Bitcoin is going to become big. It's growing every day. If it's not Bitcoin, it's going to be one of the others. Or hundreds of the others. So that's what we want to do. We admit that we need to solve it, so we are going to solve it. And that's what BitGate is going to do. We'll build on the decentralized exchange platform, which is called BitShares, which is a really interesting trading platform. It supports all these things that we talked about. The trusted Bitcoin, you can have a gateway for trusted Bitcoin on one side. You can have another gateway for Litecoin. You can have dollar, you can have euros. And what we want to do is to make a Norwegian kroner gateway so Norwegians can deposit Norwegian money directly from their bank account, deposit into the BitShares decentralized exchange. So basically move our fiat money, place it inside the crypto economy. Just take the bull by the horns, right? And at the same time, we want to get into close contact with bankers, with lawyers. We want to find out how can we solve this together. How can we regulate the edges of this system? How can we place the Norwegian kroner inside, make sure that we have identity covered, the know your customer, ability to freeze money if that is a wish. So the Norwegian kroner comes with all the regulation that is required. But at the same time, it interacts directly, it speaks the same language as the decentralized currency in the system. These things that you see here, they are something called decentralized market peg derivatives, smart coins. They are derivatives of any kind of asset, like gold, US dollar, Bitcoin, oil, it can be whatever, that is backed up by the liquidity of the blockchain. So the intrinsic token in BitShares is called BitShares. And when you want to make a $BitDollar in the system, one account needs to lock down BitShares worth $2, one account needs to lock down BitShares worth $1, and one BitShare is sent to this account. That's the creation process. The numbers vary a little bit because BitShares uses a consensus algorithm that allows for dynamic changes. It's more agile than Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, it's very, very hard to make changes. In BitShares, you have a stake-weighted voting system, which makes it possible by a stake-weighted democracy in BitShares to make that kind of changes. So that is actually an adjustable parameter. But the point is, all these assets are backed up with 200-300% of real value. So the credit default bubble that we have in the world right now, that is not possible in this system. You can actually create secure, safe, backed derivatives. Okay, so a little bit about BitShares. Yeah, I mentioned that. It has a delegated proof of stake. So Bitcoin uses proof of work. All this stuff that we talked about. In BitShares, you have a list of witnesses. They call them witnesses, the nodes that run the network, that are voted in to their place as a block signers. So all they do is they get a block, and they gather the transactions, they sign it, and they send it away. There's no work, there's no proof of work. It doesn't use any energy. You can run the BitShares code on a Raspberry Pi and be a full witness. I'm not saying that this is wrong. I think that for Bitcoin it's perfect, because that's how Bitcoin is supposed to be. It's supposed to be gold. It's supposed to be just a virtual matter or material that can't be forged, it can't be changed, it should be trusted, it's great for value, for money, for value transmission, value storage. Above all, value storage. I think that's going to be the biggest use case for Bitcoin in the coming couple of years. Whereas BitShares uses the same technology, a little bit modified and developed further to achieve basically the role of kind of a decentralized company in a way. So the way I actually see this list of all these altcoins, all these currencies, all these projects, they're basically a new form of company. And the token in the system is a share. It's a bit hard to grasp when you think of the strict definition of a share today, where you have to have income and you get dividends from your income. But that's not really the case. In the crypto economy, the company is its own money, in a sense. And the dilution of the shares in BitShares pay for its own development. So it's a self-funding system. And it lives only by valuation, not by income from external. And that's basically, I think it's just a realization of the truth, how it is today. That many of these huge mastodons, companies like Facebook, and Google, YouTube, they don't have that much income. They have the huge valuation. And people thinking, oh, that's so strange. But maybe that's maybe that's a new way of thinking about profitability and business. Okay, I don't know how. What's the time now? Okay, so I think I'll just round off here. Yeah, I think we just we can.
BitGate strengths, that one looked interesting. Maybe you can take that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really here that much to pitch our product. It's more about providing some value. At the same time, we show a little bit what we're doing. And of course, you can come and talk to us if you want to know more about our project. But our team, I think our team and our partners is our biggest strength. I mean, all these guys helping us here with this meetup, that's just what more can you ask for? You know, you have all the front runners in the Norwegian Bitcoin community gathering around us, and that's what we do. We want to create something big in Norway, somewhere you can actually do what you love, right? So that's what I did. I'm actually an electrical engineer. I worked for 5 years doing programming and designing hardware until I just realized this thing is too big to ignore. I just have to get in on this. Of course, it probably wouldn't happen if my brother didn't talk to me about it. He's a philosopher, so he sees the future. That's his thing. So yeah. So that's basically what we want. We want to create freedom for ourselves. We want to create freedom for the people around us. And we want to build a better future based on this electricity that was just invented. So I think we can go to questions maybe. I'll just show this in the background. We have more people now, brother.
If the banks go together, and make crypto money, if the banks make crypto money, would that be this platform, the bank's crypto money, be bridge the gap? Could this make it easier to change over to Bitcoin?
It would be quite bold of me to stand here and say that it's only us who can do that, to bridge the gap. I believe that what the banks are doing is a step in the right direction. However, what I've heard so far of banks doing is not really, they're not really taking the full step. They're basically finding ways to have their own private network behind this firewall, to have their own private network of permissioned actors who are allowed to access the network. And they're doing that basically to save costs. So they're not going to, as far as I understood so far, they're not actually trying to create cryptocurrencies. They're trying to create a shared ledger that they can use to communicate between them. So it's kind of half the technology. They use the ledger, the blockchain, without the value token, which is... I think that open and incentive-regulated systems are the future. And I think that other types of control, like trusted assets and permissions, must be built specifically on top of that. And people must voluntarily choose to use them. It can't be forced on people. When you have this free market, you can't force people to use this controlled market. So they're basically just, some banks are touching upon a little bit on Bitcoin, but I haven't seen anybody do it yet. So, and we believe that this system will be better than what the banks can muster up, because the gateway into the decentralized exchange is not It's not the whole system, it's just a part of the system. So the users can pick whatever gateway they want. It's just a big open network of cooperation between actors. Okay, so I think I'll take one more question and then I'll let my, Christian take over. Yeah,
it's just a kind of general understanding of the BitGate kind of platform. Is it a decentralized kind of exchange or marketplace, but the currency is BitShares? Is that what it generally is?
Yes, the BitShares is a currency.
Yeah.
It's also a share that is used to govern. So people who have a lot of BitShares also have a lot of vote when it comes to making changes in the platform. But the main idea of BitShares is that you do other things on top of it. So BitShares is like the fuel of the system, whereas you can actually transfer dollars or Bitcoin or oil or other things on top of the platform. So it's a decentralized stock market, actually, I would call it. I don't know if that's completely correct, but that's, I think, the closest thing. Decentralized global stock market, which is open 24 hours, and anybody who has a smartphone can use it. Okay, one more question.
But if your BitShares are like also power, if the more BitShares you have, the more power you have.
Yeah.
For like controlling what happens to the system.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be able to like buy yourself power?
That's a good question. I think it's useful to see BitShares as a commercial conglomerate of companies. So, but the problem with that is that if one entity tries to take over the network, it will actually decrease the network's value. So it's in the interest of the network to spread the ownership of the shares, because otherwise it will be a centralized system, and centralized systems have lower value in the crypto economy. And BitShares can do whatever they want in their own blockchain, but they can't do anything about the competition who's lurking behind and doing things in a better, nicer way that people like. So then they will just lose the users.
Yeah, and you would need sellers as well. You can't just buy as much as you want. You need people to actually be willing to sell them.
Than just pricing.
Yeah, of course. But then you might make a fund load of money and actually sell your BitShares. And the people that still hold them will make even more. So, and there is no incentive of actually, then you would actually be out just to destroy it. There is no other incentive to actually do something. You won't make money on it. If you do that, you will not make money on it. You lose a lot of money doing it.
Okay. I think we're going to cut it here. If we get time for the debate, we can just take questions then about everything. So I will just leave the floor to Christian, who's going to. Yeah.